In fact, it may actually just work if I start editing the Python file, so let's try that, and then that'll shut up. I don't actually have any Python laying around, unfortunately. All right, so oh yeah, it does. So import urllib2. There we go. I don't know much Python libraries off the top of my head that are bundled with it. TK? TK enter. Cool. And now that's better. And then what methods can I call? No? You don't know? What if I have a string? What methods can I call in string? Okay, it doesn't know that. If you install Jedi, it all of a sudden knows what methods you can call in random objects in Python. That's it. I'm done. Really done.
That makes so much more sense now.
What?
I was told a long time ago that if you write a hello world script in Emacs, you have to actually include a browser and an IRC plane.
Well, you can write Hello World if you want to start learning eLisp. It's actually, well, first you have to scratch. You can just write things in here, as I was doing. So, I mean, Hello World can be as simple as Hello World, and then Hello World evaluates itself. But you could also do message. By the way, control arrow moves the parenthesis that I just introduced around the arguments. So then if you evaluate that, it's still hello world, but it also prints it to the messages buffer, which is useful. And I don't know why it keeps, it's not like this not every window is always full screen thing. Every window should always be full screen, at least on a display this size. So yeah, that's Emacs. I really like this, and I've actually done some thought on, like, if I'm going to change my editor, what are my options? I think really among open source super powerful editors at the moment, it's Emacs and Vim. Emacs is clearly more powerful. I say open source because I know that a lot of people use Sublime, and that's fine, but morally I can't because it's not open source. So Emacs is open source. And also Emacs is older than many of the people in this room, including myself, by lots. How old was the first, I mean, okay, if we can include the macros for Tico, how old is that? That's like 1972. So.
That was a boring
It wasn't if you were programming Ticos. Or Tico, it's Tico, right? Tico's the editor?
Tico.
So, of course, I don't think that wasn't really equivalent to this Emacs, because this is basically fancy Lisp. It also has a SQL REPL, so I really never have to leave Emacs.
And it has version control science.
Oh yeah, thank you. I'm in my home directory right now, which is version control, so I can just do get the status. No, you don't need to say that. And it will show me that I have 2 stashes, that I have a bunch of untracked files, I have a bunch of unstaged changes, and a bunch of staged changes. On either of these, there are commands that I can run, which are these letters. What?
It does being on the line with it.
Yep. You can click them too, and I think there may be an option open. No, I have everything that opens up a clicky mouse thing turned off, yeah. N takes you down to each individual file. P takes you up, because this is a place where Vim key bindings doesn't make sense. So it's the standard Emacs ones. Well, standard for this mode. So if I wanted to stage the make file that's in my home directory, S. And I also want this mini buffer gone. Although now I probably need to know what else I can do. But you can do lots of things. If I wanted to do a rebase right now, I can type uppercase E, tell it I want to rebase against master, and it didn't need to do anything because it's based off of that. So that's kind of pointless. So I could rebase it to master of 3 versions ago. Oh, and it failed. Did it fail last time? I probably missed that.
Reset.
I have unstaged changes, that's obvious. That's obvious why that won't work. So I need to stage everything, or stash everything. What was their thing for stash? Or I can stage everything.
Break off into the branches, that, everything.
Yeah, I can do that. Stashing is essentially what that does. So, but in some cases, the best tool for the job is the tool that you were normally using. So I would actually just pop into a shell. So I would actually just do this. Now everything is stashed.
Stash is a special place. You have to put things there. Now let's get put that for you. There's staging, and there's stash. Stash, you have to say, okay, take the stuff that's not staged. What's there?
What's happening?
Bring the stage.
Let's say you rebase, you're starting going to rebase.
If you're interested in any of the weird things I have turned on, my config files for this will probably be uploaded.
Okay, where did this?
I saw a lot of people do a lot of complicated packaging and systems, like using org mode, which is something I need to talk about, to have a literate version of their config file. And I decided to split it into multiple files only when that made sense and not based on a package but on an idea. So I have a looks file that configures everything about how it appears to me, and then I have the evil file, which is like 300 lines long. That's separate because it's separate. But in general, I've tried to be very pragmatic about splitting it up. It shouldn't be a project. It's just a config file for crying out loud, even if it is written in a weird, ancient, powerful scripting language. So if you rebase it, it looks like that. And each one of those lines is a little. You can't really see that very well. So yeah, it's largely your fault, 'cause I didn't think more about this.
Your branch.
Yeah, we're
Is there
done now.
anything you go back to?
Your branch came from the master.
And I think using editor, it's just, I really looked at the landscape of like the things I want to get done, and it's like, I could go and use an IDE like that, and that's only going to support some languages.
People that are good at do remarkable things. I migrated for a bunch of distributors, most of it's VI.
So we've got
I deal with a lot of low-end embedded systems. VI is on every basic system.
and you probably can't transit it yet, or trans may not exist actually.
Emacs
Goes into a special state.
involves sort of corporations, full-blown desktop.
To do it there. The reason I've done this is I got tired of managing on systems, so that's why like trans is exciting. I'm like, I never have to log into this godforsaken machine again. That I'll never have my shell on. Use eShell user. I'll never have my shell there. If I use eShell, it'll always be the same everywhere. Although I did try to tramp into my router, but it's using an old version of Hash, which doesn't support the no profile switch. So it's not a deal breaker. I can make it work, so I'll have to write a config thing for that host, put it in an A list saying, on this host, it's using this niche
That's
version.
clumsy.
Or I can use the SMTP back.
Okay.
My router doesn't support
At that point in time,
SMTP.
you're looking to have an extra stash, I can see that,
It supports Android as a remote target too, so you can do ADB : and then access any files on an Android device. That means a lot of access over the ADB
yeah.
shells.
really stash them as much as keep reference to the hashes of those commits.
Right. But there's a how is that?
So the other thing that eShell does, since I'm still here, I don't have much else to talk about, is so this is a Unix command. I'm gonna pipe it into the buffer. This is not a file. This is just a buffer, and it doesn't even have to exist yet. So as you can see, the uptime is there in the file.
It hasn't purged from.
That's a full normal semantics for that. That will overwrite the file every time you call it, but you can append.
Okay.
And confusingly, they kind of overload the syntax of it here. You can insert. So that's actually adding it to, well, wherever the point is. Just at the top.
So I think that they realized on.
So if I put it down here, make sure it's on a different text this time. What I was just showing, I did, by the way, have the rebase thing open. So, Sam,
Yes, sir.
if I'm running in the shell, in case you missed that, I can redirect things instead of into a file. I can redirect it into an existing buffer in the Emacs that's open, even if the buffer is not yet saved to any file.
What buffer?
A buffer is a file that's in memory,
Yeah.
and I can redirect things to it from the Emacs shell.
Okay. And have just multiple buffers so you can interact with?
Yeah, and you can't read out from them trivially, but what I've been doing this for is I'm developing remotely. So I run git diff, redirect it into a buffer, go to the buffer, save the buffer locally, and upload it to Bugzilla because we were patch-based development. So quite convenient. Previously, do you want to know what I was doing previously? Previously, it was great. I would run git diff on the remote host, generate a file, and I got tired of using SCP to copy it, so I used SSHFS. So that's fine. Mount SSHFS to the remote server, navigate to it. While I'm doing this, and this means I go to Bugzilla, I hit the upload. Every time I'm waiting for the upload screen to display, because it's got to stat all of the files over SSHFS, I'm basically hating my life. Because I'm sitting there for about 2 minutes. And then if I accidentally double click on the wrong folder, I hate myself even more. So I like this. This is much better than
That
SSHFS.
sounds like a chronic issue.
Tramp is much better than SSHFS. And Tramp, by the way, is the funky thing that lets me navigate to weird things that are on different computers and so on. Or edit files as root, even on the as root, I mean, and then edit them, and then how's it going to edit them though? The editor actually needs to be in charge of becoming root because otherwise you only have two choices. Run the editor as root or copy the file. So obviously the editor needs to take responsibility for getting root privileges to read the file.
Doesn't it just pass it off?
How could it pass it off though? Either way, the process is, so this way, instead of the whole editor running as root, only a component of the editor running.
That's what I'm saying. Couldn't you run a slug process?
That's what it's doing.
Yeah.
By the way, it also has a file manager. I didn't mention that, but because I normally just use a shell. But
I would hope if it has a fiction sync that has some
Yeah, it's grown to the point where it's become a email program.
operating.
Yeah, operating. It's not an operating.
That's right.
it's not an operating system, but it has a file manager. And then if I can assign different things with this. I think that the uppercase E is associated with to ask the shell, that is, whatever environment's running at, to open this file for me. So you can navigate to an HTML file and open it in the browser and so on.
Can you integrate BusyBox with Emacs?
Why would you need BusyBox? let me go back to eShell for a second. So eShell, when I type ls, if I type ls, if I say which ls, it'll actually say eShell ls is a compiled Lisp function. Oh, by the way, here's what happens when you type man. This is really cool. It opens it in a new window.
You ever find yourself at
buffer and it says, can't find pants man page. By the way, you can actually also ask it woman LS. Woman is a re-implementation of LS in Lisp. Woman is a re-implementation of man completely in Lisp that is a little bit faster. It stands for without man. As you can see, it doesn't have the colors, so.
Doesn't have a what?
The colors.
Oh.
Oh, it's got yellow. Or colors.
So, eShell. I like eShell. eShell's cool.
So woman's a re-implementation of man,
Yep.
and it's colorblind,
Yep.
and it's faster.
Yep.
Because that's when it wants to
Well, it's got one less rib.
It actually worries about whether or not to take out the trash or not.
So-
And it knows when to do garbage.
You can turn off the video if you haven't already. So yeah, it is not, the whole point of this is it really is an operating system. I mean, it's not, it doesn't actually do any scheduling. It's not a scheduling, it doesn't have memory protection, but it is a shell in every.
What is the minimal requirements for it to run?
And then external.
So, John, I found a link that explains how to take Emacs and run it on external.
Yep.
With nothing else.
Yeah, but the problem with that is you can't display XKCD because it can't do images right now without X. But there are people working on a frame buffer driver.
x86-64, that means it's
What's their goal? Running Emacs on a toaster?
Well, see, once you've got Emacs actually as an operating system, then we can start doing primary drivers for shells.
I just run most of it.
So what is that?
Which one? Do you just have to tell me?
Can you get Emacs for Android?
Not, yeah, you can, but it only runs in the terminal, and I'm really kind of attached
Well,
to it.
nobody was going to want that because it doesn't support, nobody on Slashdot's not actually can't support the type.
What's the comic book number?
One, zero.
1110? 3 1s and a 0? It's big. Only has the first bit of it. Maybe. The buffer, I reached into the buffer. Yeah, it doesn't have all of it. It gets like the first cell or something.
All right, now we're gonna let Dylan do that. We're gonna let
It's like,
I know it only has numbers in a circle, but those mean things these days.
yes.
Oh, it actually says that's what we call it.
Yeah, people are so.
All right, we want to go somewhere after this. Does anyone want to go somewhere after this?
Tijuana,
All right.
Albuquerque.
It's more than a 30-mile drive these days. Over here. We have to go to South San
All right, so Dylan, you were gonna tell me how I can capture the message when I close the lid.
If the command is installed, otherwise we're going to have to get. There you go, ACPI listen,
Yeah.
and then close the lid, and then the text will be printed to that screen.
It'll be printed to that screen, and will it be safe when I shut it off or not?
No, you'll have to copy and paste it.
Oh,
I can redirect the output so that it will.
The ultimate goal to have the computer shut down or suspend, which will.
Oh, no, the ultimate goal is to have something that I can send to email chains.
It'll be ACPI.txt in whatever directory you're in the shell, which is probably your home directory.
Oh, okay.
Close it, shut out the stuff.
All right.
Check my emails.
Normally the computers will not shut down when you just shut it down, then cover, and just go to sleep.
All right.
Only need 5 pounds of Portland.
So it needs to be sit down with the battery.
Okay.
Oh, that's nice. Flower thing.
I try and frame my photos. Otherwise, they're just playing.
Look for drawing rabbits.
Just a photographer now.
All right.